Hello students, welcome to engineering geology classes. Today we will begin with the module 4, which is hydrogeology. So in this module, as the word tells, the hydro stands for water and the geology is the science behind the water. Okay, so we are going to deal with the different aspects which are related to water, like hydrological cycle, how the water distribution present in the ground, okay, that is vertical distribution of groundwater. Then how the groundwater occurs in different types of soils and rocks. Then there are different water bearing formations which we call it as aquifer. What are the types of aquifers? Then the properties of those water bearing formations, like porosity, specific yield, specific retention, permeability, transmissibility, storage coefficient. These are all the properties of the water bearing formations. Then we are going to discuss about how to determine the quality of water, that is SAR, RSC and TH of the groundwater. What are the formulas to find out all these parameters? Then also we are going to discuss the groundwater exploration methods, how the search for groundwater is done. That also we are going to discuss. There are two methods which are commonly used, that is electrical resistivity method and the seismic method. So these two methods are used for groundwater exploration, which we are going to discuss. Then how the groundwater is recharged artificially, that is called as artificial recharge of groundwater. Then there are some rainwater harvesting structures and different methods of rainwater harvesting, so that we are going to discuss. Then seawater intrusion in coastal areas and remedies, like in the coastal area the fresh water gets mixed with the saline water. So what are the reasons for that, how it occurs, and what are the remedial measures for that process called as seawater intrusion. Then the last one, groundwater pollution, how the groundwater gets polluted, what are the reasons and how we are going to overcome that. Then floods and its controls, then cyclones and its effect. So this includes your module 4. So we'll start with the first, that is the definition of what is hydrogeology. So hydrogeology, as it is a science that deals with the subsurface water, that is called as groundwater, and the related geological aspects of surface water. So here water means we divide the water into two. One is the water which is present on the surface and the water which is present below the surface. So the water which is present below the ground, so it is called as groundwater, and this water which is present at the top, that is called as the surface water. So the science which deals with both these type of water, that is surface water as well as the groundwater, that is called as the hydrogeology, and the related geological aspects of both these surface water and the groundwater are studied under a branch called hydrogeology. So all the water which is occurring beneath the surface of the earth, that is called as the groundwater or the surface water, or it is also called as underground water. All means the same. The water which is present below the surface, below the ground surface, that is called as the underground water or groundwater. And the water which is present above on the surface of the earth, that is called as the surface water in the form of rivers, lakes, okay, different water bodies which are on the surface, that is called as the surface water. So the branch which studies both these type of waters, that is called as hydrogeology. Then we'll see how the distribution of the whole water which is present in the earth, that is done. So here you can see the distribution of water on the earth's surface is extremely uneven. Okay, it is totally uneven. Only 3% of water on the surface is fresh water. Okay, here you can see only 3% of the water is the fresh water which is available, and remaining 97% of the water that is present in the ocean, that is a saline water. Okay, here you can see only 3% of the water that is fresh water, and remaining 97% of the water that is saline water which is present in the oceans, right? Then if you take this fresh water which is 3%, that if you take it as 100%, then you can divide this 3% of fresh water into three different parts, right? The first one is the surface water. Then other sources of water, it includes only 0.9%. Surface water, if you say, it is only 0.3%. Then maximum available, that is 30.1%, that is groundwater, and more water is trapped in the ice caps of glaciers. Okay, that is in the form of ice. Okay, so that is in the polar regions as well as wherever there are cold places, right? So the water is in the form of ice. So that water includes, though it is a fresh water, but it is of no use because it is in the ice form. Okay, so it is 68.7%, and groundwater, if you say, it is 30.1% which is available, and only 0.3% is available as the surface water. So that is almost 69%. It resides in glaciers, and around 30% is underground water, and less than 1% is located in the lakes, rivers, swamps, that is in the form of surface water. Then if you take this 0.3% of surface water, that is 87% is available in the lakes, then 11% is available in swamps, and only 2% is available in the rivers. So this is the distribution of water, distribution of water on the earth's surface. Okay, then we'll discuss the very important concept, very important question from this module, that is the hydrological cycle. So there is a cycle in which the water is circulating, that is known as the water cycle. It is also known as hydrological cycle or H2O, that is water cycle. So what is that water cycle? So here the water is continuously in motion. It is in the circulation. There are the activity of water in this cycle. It passes through the atmosphere, hydrosphere, and the lithosphere. So there are three spheres in which the water is circulating. That is the hydrosphere, that is the where water is available. Atmosphere, that is the top surface above the earth's surface. Okay, then the upper part of the lithosphere is the rocks. Okay, so that constitutes the three main media in which the water of the earth circulates. So the circulation of water from ocean to the atmosphere, then from atmosphere to the lithosphere, and the lithosphere to again the ocean through various complex and interdependent processes, which includes like precipitation, runoff, groundwater flow, then evaporation, transpiration. Okay, these are the different modes in which the water is transferred. Okay, and that is called as the hydrological cycle. So the water which we find on the ground surface is received as the rain Okay, so rain from the clouds. Okay, so this water, it eventually finds its path into the streams, rivers, ponds or lakes. Okay, then reservoirs, and some water becomes the groundwater when it percolates down. Then this ultimately at the end it will join to the sea. Okay, then again it evaporates from and it forms the clouds. So this cycle of circulation of water is called as the hydrological cycle. So the circulation of water from ocean to atmosphere, atmosphere to lithosphere, and again from lithosphere to the ocean. Okay, then through various complex and interdependent processes, that is called as the hydrological cycle. So the water moves in these three passes through these three layers, that is atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere. So that is called as the water cycle. So in detail we'll discuss. So water cycle has no starting point as such. Okay, but to understand we will begin with the oceans, because where most of the water is available, right? Then the sun is the source which drives this water cycle. Okay, it heats the water from the ocean. Then some of the water, so here we will begin with the water cycle. Sun is the source, okay, the driving source or energy with. So here the water from the ocean, okay, water storage in the ocean, it starts evaporating, that is called as the evaporation. So what happens in evaporation? It is a process by which water changes from liquid to gases or vapors. So that is called as evaporation. Water changes from liquid to gas or vapor. So evaporation is the primary pathway that water moves from liquid state to again into the water cycle in the form of vapors. So the lakes, the oceans, the seas and the rivers, they provide nearly 90% of the moisture in our atmosphere through this process called as evaporation. Okay, and 90% being contributed by plant through the transpiration. So here evaporation is the major process where the water cycle begins. So it is the water which changes from liquid to vapor. Okay, it is a process by which the water changes from liquid state to vapor state. So that is called as evaporation. Then some water is transpired through the plants, so that is called as evapotranspiration. Evapotranspiration is defined as the water which is lost to the atmosphere from the ground surface and transpiration of groundwater by plants through the leaves of the plant. So that is called as evapotranspiration. Then the next process, what happens to this vapors? They start condensing, that is called as condensation. So in condensation what happens? The water vapors which are formed as a result of evaporation in the air, it is changed into again the liquid form, liquid water. So condensation is a crucial to the water cycle because it is responsible for formation of clouds. So condensation is one in which the formation of clouds takes place. So these clouds, they may produce the precipitation, that is the rainwater, which is the primary route for water to return on the earth's surface within the water cycle. So condensation is what? It is opposite of evaporation. Again the water, it converts the vapors convert into again the liquid. Okay, that is called as condensation. So what happens after formation of clouds? So water that is stored in the atmosphere, then some water it will be as a sublimation. Sublimation is what? that is the most often used to describe the process of snow or the ice that is changing into water vapor, okay, without melting. That is important. That is called as sublimation. So whatever ice will be present, that ice, it will not melt, it will directly convert into vapors. So that is called as sublimation. So this occurs more at higher altitude where the air pressure is less than the lower altitude. So in such regions we find the process of sublimation. So again it will form vapors, and those again forms the clouds, that is called as condensation. So once the water is condensed, that forms the clouds, and the water is again contributed by plants also, that is called as transpiration. So the release of water from the plant leaves, that is called as transpiration, by which the moisture is carried through the plants from the roots to the small pores of the leaves, okay. So where it changes from vapor, okay, from liquid to vapor, and it is released to the atmosphere. So that happens in transpiration. So these are all the ways in which the water converts and it forms the clouds, okay. And these clouds, they again come on the earth's surface in the form of precipitation. So what is mean by precipitation? That is a rainfall. So the water is released from the clouds in the form of rain, freezing rain, okay, or snow or hail. These are again the forms of water which are occurring on the earth's surface, which are falling. So it is the primary connection in the water cycle that provides for the delivery of atmospheric water to the earth. So most precipitation falls as of in the form of rain. So rainwater, that is called as the precipitation. So when the rain hits the ground, when it falls on the earth's surface, the water, it starts flowing downhill, okay. The water, it forms when it falls on the ground. So some of the water, it flows on the surface in the form of surface runoff. Then some water, it infiltrates into the ground, and that becomes the groundwater. And through this groundwater flow, again it will join the rivers or springs, okay, and this will contribute water to the surface water. So in the storage reservoirs, okay, or the rivers, and finally the water will again go to the ocean, and again from ocean the evaporation starts. So this water continues. So this is a cycle, okay. It is in the cyclic form. So the some water, it infiltrates, that will remain in the shallow soil, okay. Then the excess water, after reaching the requirement of soil, that becomes the groundwater, okay. Then some water flows as a surface runoff. So these are all the different processes which are involved in the hydrological cycle. So hydrological cycle, again in the same points I have explained here. So immediately after precipitation, what happens? Some part of the water, it reaches the atmosphere in the form of fly off, and then some will be absorbed by the plants, okay. That is again contributed in the form of evapotranspiration. So hydrological cycle is a continuous process. It is a continuous process. Then some part, it will run on the surface in the form of surface runoff. Then some will be again evaporated from the sea, lakes, okay. That is called as evaporation. Then the components of hydrological cycle are evaporation, condensation, precipitation, Okay, interception, infiltration, groundwater, and the runoff. So these are the different components of hydrological cycle, and the main energy which is required behind this cycle is the sun, that is the source. Okay, so here how the groundwater or the water moves in the different forms, that is called as the hydrological cycle. So what is the definition of hydrological cycle? So it is the circulation of water from ocean to the atmosphere, and atmosphere to the lithosphere, and again from lithosphere to the ocean. That is called as the hydrological cycle through the complex and interdependent processes which include precipitation, runoff, groundwater flow, evaporation, transpiration. That is called as the hydrological cycle. So here how the water circulates in the motion. It is in the motion continuously in the atmosphere, lithosphere, and hydrosphere. So so water cycle, it begins or it can start from the ocean. So this is how the water is circulating in the atmosphere, lithosphere, and hydrosphere. Thank you.